Fitness boxing has gone from a quirky Switch rhythm and exercise game into a franchise. There are now 5 fitness boxing games on the Switch. Today we're diving into the newest mainline game of the series that unfortunately was announced right as the Miku game came out in the West, which I believe kind of hurt that game's chance for success when people knew the next real game was right around the corner. Anyways, let's get those boxing gloves ready. Here is my review of Fitness Boxing 3 for the Nintendo Switch. When it comes to gameplay, this is an exercise-themed rhythm game. As you trek through it, you'll be doing shadow boxing. You do this with the Joy-Cons, using motion controls to register jabs, straights, hooks, uppercuts, ducks, weaves, and more. When diving into this new game, pretty much everything from the previous ones came back along with a lot of new content. First of all, this game features 33 exercises versus Fitness Boxing 2's 30, and many of their returning routines have been reworked with different combos. The daily exercise and free training or quick play modes return, but we have the addition of many more modes that you can trek through, including Sit Fit Boxing that's geared towards sitting down as you exercise, Mitt drills for combos without a time limit, and bonding events to let you exercise while getting to know your chosen instructor. Moving on to features, we also have a lot of new stuff here. The Hatsune Miku game's daily and weekly missions return, offering you currency for missions as well as achievements to buy songs and cosmetics. There's a network function to access leaderboards and see the average stats for those in your age group, and we have much more to keep you inspired to exercise regularly. On top of the existing daily stamp system, this game introduces a monthly rank, where you gain experience as you exercise to increase a rank that will reset each month. Now let's get to main progression. Fitness Boxing is a franchise where you put in weight data, select goals, pick one of the 6 trainers to work with, and can go into daily workout or free training to do exercises. While it's unfortunate that some of the previous game's instructors were removed for Fitness Boxing 3, like Sophie, who's been around since the first game, some of the newcomers like Stella do admittedly have good English voice acting and a bit of charm to them. Once everything is set up, you just work out. You can set goals for what you want to do, how long you want to exercise, and the game creates routines for you to do in daily workout to help you meet those goals. And whenever you finish exercises, you're given a score. It lets you do a daily stamp to show you exercised today, and you unlock new routines and cosmetic items for your chosen instructor. Once you dive into an exercise, it's a motion-based rhythm game. The instructor gets you moving and will give you prompts for certain actions. You then hold the Joy-Cons in your hands and perform those actions to get the motion controls to recognize and record them for you. Think of it like a music or a rhythm game, but with you punching, ducking, and weaving instead of doing button inputs. The good news is they vastly improved the motion detection in this game. You can still go into settings to auto-complete things like weaves and ducks, but the motion detection is much more accurate and without the odd delay you got in some of the previous games. The sound effects are timed in the split second when you do the punches as well, making it feel more fluid. Now they didn't change how this works. It's just a basic motion detection, allowing you to technically still cheat the system by snapping the Joy-Cons in your hand. Or you can do substitutions like I do when readjusting. I had to take 4 months off of this series for health reasons, and my biceps struggle to adjust whenever I get back in. So if you're struggling with things like uppercuts, you can substitute in jabs or straights if it's hurting too much, so the game still registers you doing something as you build up that stamina. Getting back to improvements, they've done a lot to make this game more accessible and intuitive. To save time, you can jump into a daily workout straight from the title screen by selecting Quick Workout, and your instructor can change daily workouts depending on how you're feeling. When you first boot up for the day, the instructor will ask you something like, "How are you feeling?" or "How did you sleep last night?" They'll change their recommendations on intensity depending on how you answer. They'll also change routines while they're in progress, often offering you harder workouts if you do exceptionally well in the first of a set. Moving on to accessibility, we have a new mode called Sit Fit Boxing, offering lighter exercises and a different stance that can be done while sitting down. This offers an option for people that are physically disabled or in an environment where you just can't stand to work out. Then we have Mitt drills. This mode takes away the time limit and just has the instructor ask you to do certain actions. You still need to do them within a few seconds, but it can be be a very different feeling to just look at a percentage gauge you fill yourself rather than seeing how much time is left. Now, I will admit that the inputs of this mode do feel pretty awkward and will throw you off. The ducks and weaves are much slower in Mitt drills, regardless of whether or not you have them autocomplete, and the motion is hypersensitive for punches, often registering the punch when I'm just starting it rather than when I complete the actual punch itself. The other oddity is that Mitt drills have you do this cool rapid fire punch system at the end to really test your stamina, but the punches you do during that ending are not recorded by the game. When I did a 113 punch combo finisher in Mitt Drill 1, it only counted the initial exercise, saying I punched 108 times when it should have been well over 220 with the finisher combo. Finally, we have bond and boxing, which is something that you can do with your instructor that is a little bit more immersive. The previous games allowed you to choose a trainer and unlock cosmetic items to dress them up, and you can still do that here. But when you do so many exercises with them, you get bonding events. These are effectively just more complex routines you can do in free training anyways, but they're tied with little conversations with the instructors, sometimes offering backstory and dialogue choices, like when Stella tells you that her past in horse training has helped her blossom as a fitness instructor. These bonding events also seem tied to a large portion of the cosmetic items you can unlock for the instructors, including hairstyles. And speaking of cosmetics, a little fun fact: if you play this game on a holiday, you get special holiday themed hats, like the New Year's hat you see here or a Christmas tree hat. If you happen to miss one of the holidays, technically all you really need to do is change your Switch's internal date to that day, boot the game up, and you'll unlock it. As all of this comes together, this is a very good fitness game. The daily exercises can quickly work you pretty hard. I've played these games off and on for years, yet the game gets me working up a sweat sometimes within 5 minutes of a routine taking place. Plus, you can increase the speed of routines to help challenge you faster and harder. Now, there isn't a manual speed you can toggle that fully replicates Fitness Boxing 2's No Mercy DLC, but there's plenty here to push you. That brings us to content and length. I've been playing this game for about 18 days at the time of this recording, and have less than half of the exercises unlocked, and only 3 of the 5 bonding events for Stella after working out with her nearly 40 different times. Considering exercise is something you will want to do on a regular basis, there's plenty to keep you going. Next up is presentation, and this game looks great. The models look really good with a lot of depth and detail to their outfits. Granted, these games have always looked nice, but this is definitely the best looking game of the series. My only nitpick about presentation is the track list. Fitness Boxing 3 has a pretty good selection of songs like Bad Guy, Danger Zone, Ghostbusters, and oddly enough, What Does the Fox Say? But the instrument sound and quality is much lower in this game. Some tracks, like Bad Guy, make it hard to stay with the beat, and they just don't have that much energy to them, especially when compared to previous games like Fitness Boxing 2's version of Sandstorm or Fitness Boxing 1's rendition of Bad Romance. Let's move on to performance. Oddly enough, Fitness Boxing 3 only runs at 30 FPS instead of 60 like 1 and 2 did. It doesn't affect the experience really, and something I only really noticed once I started booting up 2 to be able to compare the games, but it's a strange choice. What we really should be talking about here are the transitions this game uses. When transitioning between modes, you don't get loading screens like you did in pretty much all of the other games. The background just changes as your instructor talks to you with various bits of dialogue. It creates an interesting and much more immersive and seamless experience. But they talk so much that it almost feels like the dialogue is padding out the loading time. I was worried that this meant 3 had longer load times than previous games, though it actually doesn't. To be more specific, it takes you about 20 seconds to go from selecting your routine to the game loading into the rhythm gameplay in Fitness Boxing 3, which is actually 5 seconds shorter than Fitness Boxing 2. Next up is battery life, which FYI does not count airplane mode since you do need a wireless connection with the Joy-Cons to be able to run this game. But on the original and light models, Fitness Boxing 3 will net you about 3 to 4 hours, while the V2 and OLED model can get about 5 to 6 hours. In conclusion, Fitness Boxing returns with a new mainline entry, bringing back features from the spin-offs and adding a bunch of new things to be more accessible, immersive, and fun. Now, the downside, the songs don't have as much energy to them, and the inputs can get a little weird when you're doing Mitt drills. But this is the best Fitness Boxing game to date, with more content than 2, more ways to play, and can and will push you to exhaustion if you let it. Reviews to Go rates Fitness Boxing 3 for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.